So my question is, I know you said that your first championship was um, the most important to you, but would you consider that your crowning achievement in wrestling?
Not really. I think it's hard to say. I really think that the match I had in Wembley with the Bulldog was, at the time anyway, was the greatest match of all time, and that was the match that kind of that gave Vince the initiative, or made him make the decision to put the title on me, and that was the match that kind of made me. Although Roddy Piper did a really good job of
Yeah.
establishing me, and even Mr. Perfect were two guys that sort of helped build me to, kind of get me higher, so that the Wembley match meant something. But Wembley, was such a sort of a, I think it was the wrestling match that, like, I remember the wrestlers themselves. The wrestlers are a big part of your. Like, I know that, like, when Macho Man fought Ricky Steamboat in WrestleMania 3, that was the match every wrestler in the dressing room was waiting for. It wasn't Hulk Hogan. It wasn't this guy. It wasn't that guy. It was Macho Man and Ricky Steamboat are wrestling tonight. Like, it was like when that was on, every wrestler was around the monitor. Every wrestler was watching it, and everybody just eating it up. It was like such a great match. I remember when it was over, it's like most wrestlers at that time, I think, would have told you, like, that was the greatest match of all time. It's better. And so if you skip to when I fought Bulldog in Wembley, it was the same thing. I remember thinking about the match and the fact that it was Bulldog in England, and how to end it, and how the spots that we would do and the things we would. I put so much thought into it, but I remember it's like, this has to be the best match ever. It's going to be better than the Steamboat Macho Man match. And I'll put the Macho Man match side by side with the match at Wembley, and you can tell me yourself which one you think is better. Although I think they're both great, and they're obviously two different time periods. But I think that I think after Wembley, people would have said, "Yeah, that's the greatest match of all time" at that point. And I think the Iron Man match I had with Shawn, it's flawless. It's a flawless match. It's two guys that are put on one of the greatest performances in wrestling, maybe untouched by anybody today. The AJ Styles and the CM Punks and the Daniel Bryans and stuff. I don't know that anybody's topped the Iron Man match for everything that it had, and everything that we did, and the timing and the execution. I'm a very harsh critic of wrestling, and I when I watched the Iron Man match back, I realized how hard it was, like how much of a challenge it was, and we had so much to remember, and we were both going 100 miles an hour, and just having going in there with a full tank of gas, and trying to save your energy for the next move and the next move. It was such a, I don't know that anybody ever topped it, in my opinion. I mean, I'm so proud of that match, and was always proud of it. And I think that one is, and the Wembley are two of my favorite matches of all time. And they were, like I say, move for move. If I had to go back and take a move out of that, I don't know which move I would take out. Like, it was like everything was done perfectly, and it's a it's a it's a it's a work of art. And I had other the WrestleMania 13 match with Steve Austin's the same thing. I mean, I wouldn't take anything out of that match, like nothing. The blood, I love the spot where Steve Austin kicks me in the balls. It's 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 incredible. Like, it's so much better than anybody doing these. The forearm
Yeah.
up there. Like, it looks so real. When people watch it, they go, "That was real."
Yeah.
It hurt, and that's what great wrestling is all about. And I always think, I look back on all of it, and it's like it's a masterpiece. It's a perfect masterpiece. And I look
Yeah.
at the match I had with Undertaker, SummerSlam '97. It's a masterpiece. You wouldn't take one move out. Everything is perfect, and the timing and the execution and the little things. Like, there's a part where I start to run, hit the ropes, and I'm running past Undertaker because I was going to run past him, and he snatched me out of the air and grabbed me by the throat as I ran by.
Yeah.
We had planned stuff like that. That's all real. Like it was so good and it looked so real, and that's what I love about some of my matches. That the wrestling sometimes tends that I think today looks too rehearsed.
Oh yeah.
And everything looks planned out, like the two guys plotted the whole thing out. And I don't, not that I didn't plot my stuff out with my opponents, but you is a certain realism and a natural flow that flows into my matches that I like better than what a lot of the wrestlers are doing today.
Yeah.
And, I just, the Iron Man match and the Wembley match, I think, never been duplicated. And those matches are still the matches that people talk about today. I mean, I still get, and the Perfect match is another one, and Roddy.
Yeah.
There's many matches I stand in salute of the guys that I worked with. And Kurt Hennig was one of my favorite guys to work with. If you said you could have one more match with one guy and be in perfect condition and no injuries or anything, who would it be? And it would be Kurt Hennig. We had so much fun working together. We had so much chemistry with our styles and our timing. And Kurt was one of the greatest athletes there ever was to put on a pair of wrestling boots. And I cherish the memories I had with him. He was just such a great wrestler. And, I'm not sure if all this is answering your question, but
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're
I
fine. I just appreciate talking to you. It's amazing.
but there's a match, even the tag team match with Jim and I against the Nasty Boys where we lost the belts to them at WrestleMania 7. There's a part in that match, and I watch it back sometimes just to watch it, to watch how natural it is. But there's a part where I think I'm lying in the ring and I get up and Sags hits the ropes and clotheslines me, and I take a bump, and then I bounce backwards through the ropes, and I fall off. I remember I'm teetering on the apron, but I fall off the apron, and it just looks so real, like so natural,
Yeah.
that it rehearsed. But it's just the way you did it and the way Sags hit me with the clothesline. And in that match, there's a spot where I got Sags in the corner. If you're ever watching it, I got peel his head back and I give him about 30 punches in the head.
Mm-hmm.
Those punches, watch every punch. They look like they killed him. They look like such great punches compared to a lot of the wrestlers today that throw punches on a guy.
Oh yeah.
I always thought I had a really good punch. My punches always looked really believable and solid. And, little things, it's the little details that make a great wrestler. And I think I'm proud to stand back on and sort of, I appreciate all the things that I did with guys that didn't look rehearsed and looked natural. And, I know that today's wrestling is missing a big part when they're so unrealistic.
Yeah.
I think my advice to every wrestler out there, the ones that might be listening, is to try to just make their wrestling matches more real.
Mm-hmm.
Take out a couple of the jumps and shorten them and make them make the wrestling more believable. I know that like when I watch old wrestling, like Lou Thesz and guys from the 50s and the 60s and Buddy Rogers and whoever that were, Bruno, and you can name all the great wrestlers from. I watch the matches and I go, man, they're too slow. It's too slow. But the 90s wrestling was the best wrestling of all time. Better than anyone ever did. And you can talk about whatever era you want to, but those were the best days of wrestling. And I'm proud to have been a main part of that time period.